Hi, it's Penny Black and Jill Foster here for your next PB&J card class. Here's a look at the Penny Black and Spellbinders supplies we'll be using to create our cards today. I'll be sharing with you a couple of techniques for using dies to create three-dimensional floral embellishments for your cards and tags. And here's a look at one of those flowers and at the two projects we'll be doing. To begin, I'm starting with 3 flowers that were die cut with the Spellbinders Shapeabilities die, and I list the exact dies used at the end of the video. I cut those using Penny Black Mix and Match cardstock in white, and now I'm coloring on them with Faber-Castell Gelatos, and all of these are from the red pack of Gelatos. And I'm just coloring directly onto the paper and then blending with my fingertip, starting with the darkest color and then moving to the lightest color. I chose to use Gelatos because I really love the bold, bright color that you get with those, and it really adds to the pop when creating these 3D embellishments. Now, once you've colored all 3, we're going to do some trimming. On the first flower, I'm just going to trim right up to the center between the petals. On the next, I'll trim to the center and cut out one of the petals, and you'll want to save that. And then on this final one, I'm going to do the same thing, only this time I'll trim out 2 of the petals, and I'll keep those intact and I'll save those as well. And then once you've done your trimming, you can go ahead and roll your edges of the petals of each flower. And you can see that this is a fun die cut where you can pop out the petals. I kind of saved mine to pop those out at the end. So I curled, but you can see where some of those do pop out, and it's already three-dimensional. And then I'm using some Helmer quick drying glue. You could use glossy accents. You just want to be sure that it's a real strong glue. And it helps if you unscrew the cap all the way. So here I've just added some to the petal on the left, and I'm just curling that other petal and adhering it on top. And then I'm just going to use a paper clip to hold that. So it was easiest for me to think of if I put the glue on the petal on the left and wrap around the one from the right on top. And the center of the flower will go down. So you create sort of a bowl or a cup effect. And then a paper clip on there to hold while it dries. And you can see there the additional dimension that you can get with this particular die. And then again, putting the glue on the petal on the left and then pulling that one from the right around and adhering. Now these are the 2 that we already cut out. Right now I'm just going to work with the one that has 2. I am going to color the back because this does curl around and you do see some of the back on both of these. So I'm just coloring on those with the gelato and then blending with my fingertip. And then it would be kind of fun with these also, if you trimmed before you colored your cardstock, you could do the center of your flower, you know, in a yellow or sort of switch up the colors. And the gelatos come right off your hands and your work surface because they are water soluble, so just wipe them clean with a baby wipe. Now with this piece of 2 petals, I'm going to roll the one on the right, and then the one on the left, I'm going to roll on itself into kind of a cone shape. So first I kind of rolled that just to get the paper used to going in that direction. And then I just applied some adhesive to hold that. And then I'm just clipping that down at the bottom while the glue dries. So here's that one that I clipped, and I waited about 5 minutes for the glue to completely dry on all the pieces. I'm poking a hole through the bottom, and I'm inserting a piece of wire. I didn't have any floral wire, so I just took a paper clip and unwound it, and it worked great. So no need to go out and buy anything new if you have a paper clip on hand. And then while I work, I just kind of keep sort of fluffing those pieces up as I go when I assemble the flower. So you can see I inserted that through the hole and then folded the wires down on themselves. I'm unclipping all the rest of the flower pieces. And I'm going to trim that bottom piece so we create a whole piece to push that through. So I'm just putting the wire through and pulling that into the center. And just continue that same process with all the pieces that remain. So I'm just clipping and then inserting that through. And then I also went in and trimmed that initial piece, the bottom of that, so this would lay more flat once I put it on my project. And you can continue just to play around. And then I just open that up a little bit to keep it fairly steady for this next step. Now this is the one petal that was left, and I'm just kind of folding it in on itself like a taco, but holding that most near the center, trimming the bottom, and then I'll want to adhere that. So I'm just taking a look at how it looks in there, rolling it down a little bit, and then folding it in again, that taco effect. Putting some adhesive to hold it. And then I wanted to clip that just to be sure it dried. And then I can add that one more petal inside, so some adhesive, and then I just stuck that in. Now I'm taking some Sukaneko Goosebumps texture spray and spraying that onto the flower pretty heavy. And then I'm going to let that dry. And you can see once that dry what a beautiful shimmer you get, and it also gives the paper a little bit more strength as it dries. Now for the second flower, I'm starting with just a circular piece of paper. I just punched this out, coloring it with the gelato and then blending with my fingertip. This is kind of be the base of the flower. And then instead of using a flower die, we're going to use a butterfly die. So this is also from Spellbinders, and I have 2.5. And then I'm going to cut them. And as I cut them, I'll lay them down here sort of how they will be once we do that. So cut it in half. Now this one I'm going to trim that bottom, a little bit larger wing into the petal shape. And that will go one there. And one there. So you can imagine all the different kinds of flowers you could create with different butterfly dies. Then to color these petals, I'm again using Faber-Castell Gelatos. I'm using 3 colors, and I am blending as I go. Once the gelato dries, then it doesn't rub off on your fingers anymore and you can't blend it. So I like to work in small sections, and that makes it much easier to blend if you're just doing it direct to paper and blending with your fingertip. And you can go back and add more color, so I wanted a little bit more, so I'm just going back over the top. And you'll continue that for all of the petals. And then I'm going to use my bone folder here and sort of curl those edges, curl the petals just to give it even more dimension. And I'll do that for all of the pieces. And then we're ready to begin putting that together onto our base. So I'm just doing some arranging. I like the 2 at the top and 1 at the bottom. I'm using, again, a strong adhesive. I really like this adhesive by Helmar. It dries quickly, but it's really strong. It reminds me almost of the glue from a hot glue gun, except you don't have to use the hot glue gun, and it's just a little bit easier to do, but it has that nice strength and sort of that same consistency. You have a little bit of time there to arrange. And then I decided to roll some of the petals back so you get some variety. Give it a little more natural look. Now to accentuate the center, this was another from the original flower die cuts we used on the first flower. I had this left over that I had cut, so I decided to color it with those same gelatos, and then just giving that also some curling with the bone folder, and that will go into the center of the flower. And then I'm spraying this also with that Goosebumps shimmer and texture spray pretty heavily. You can see some of that on there. And then what I did is I just mounted these to some cards that were stamped with several different penny black new background stamps. For details and more information, visit the Penny Black website, www.pennyblackink.com. And here's a look at all the supplies used. Thanks for watching.